in a place the sun rarely reaches and where the ice swallows everything, 28 men faced the impossible. No food, no shelter, no hope, yet they never gave up. This is not a fiction. It's a true story of courage and resolve. The story of Ernest Shackleton and his crew, who defied the ice and death to survive. In 1914, British explorer Ernest Shackleton set out to achieve a dream no one had ever accomplished: to cross the Antarctic continent from one end to the other, passing through the South Pole. At that time, the world was still discovering the unknown, and journeys to the Antarctic were like traveling to another planet. Shackleton named his mission Endurance, and that name was not just a title, it was a prophecy of what was to come. In August 1914, Shackleton and his crew of 27 men sailed from South Georgia Island on a strong wooden ship built to break ice, but not built to withstand the full power of nature. During the first months, they faced frozen seas and violent winds. Then came January 1915, when the ship became trapped in a completely solid sea of ice. The ship stopped moving, and the frozen ocean closed around it like a wall. They could hear the wood cracking and the metal groaning under the pressure of the ice. Shackleton realized the ship might not survive for long, so he ordered his men to unload the food, the boats, and the equipment onto the ice before the ship broke apart. Long weeks passed as they waited, and then in October 1915, the ice began to crush the ship slowly until it finally collapsed and sank. It disappeared before their eyes, and with it disappeared their hope of a quick return. But Shackleton did not lose control. He gathered his men and told them calmly and firmly, "The ship is gone, but we are not. We are going home." From that moment, one of the greatest survival stories in history began. The men built a camp on the ice. They ate seal and penguin meat and melted ice to get water. Temperatures reached -40, and the night seemed endless. It wasn't an adventure anymore. It was a daily fight to survive. Months passed as they drifted north with the moving ice. They had no path, no way to communicate. Only their leader, who never stopped giving them hope. Shackleton talked with them, laughed with them, and shared the little food they had. He knew that true leadership begins when everyone else starts to fall apart. In April 1916, after 5 months of waiting, the ice finally began to break. They launched the 3 lifeboats and started a deadly journey through waves as high as mountains. After 7 days of hell at sea, they reached a lonely, rocky shore called Elephant Island. It was the first time they touched land in more than 497 days. But the joy did not last. The island was completely empty, with no food and no hope of rescue. No ships passed by, and it was cut off from the world. Shackleton realized that staying there meant death, so he made the hardest decision of his life. He chose 5 of his men and set out with them in a small boat called the James Caird, only 7 meters long, to cross more than 1,300 kilometers of the world's roughest seas towards South Georgia Island, where a whaling station existed. The journey was hell on earth. Waves taller than houses, winds cold as knives, and salt water freezing on their faces every moment. They slept on ice inside the boat and squeezed frozen water from their clothes, but they kept rowing through pain and despair. After 2 weeks of suffering, one man suddenly shouted, "Land! There!" They had reached South Georgia, but fate was cruel again. The winds pushed them to the wrong side of the island, a place of icy mountains and violent storms. The only inhabited area was on the opposite side. They had no choice but to walk for 36 straight hours across mountains and snow. They climbed steep slopes, slipped down icy hills, and fell again and again, but they never stopped. Shackleton kept telling his men every few hours, "We won't stop until we hear the whistle of the whaling station." And at dawn, on May 20th, 1916, they finally heard it, a steam whistle. They ran toward it with all the strength they had left until they reached the whaling station in Stromness. When the workers saw them, they couldn't believe their eyes. They looked like ghosts walking out of the ice. One of the workers asked, "Who are you?" Shackleton answered with a hoarse voice, "My name is Shackleton." As soon as he regained his strength, he began planning a rescue mission for his men on Elephant Island. The first attempt failed because of the ice. The second, the ship had to stop halfway. The third turned back before reaching the island. But Shackleton did not know despair. On the fourth attempt, he secured a small ship called Yelcho and sailed once more toward his men. On the morning of August 30th, 1916, the men on the island saw smoke from a ship on the horizon. They ran to the shore, screaming, crying, and laughing at the same time. Shackleton had returned. The ship approached, and Shackleton called his men by name, one by one. They were all there. He did not lose a single man. After 497 days of ice, hunger, and death, they all returned to life. Shackleton wrote only 4 words in his diary: "I did it, all alive." And when they returned to England, the world didn't hear much about them, because the First World War was raging at the time. But as the years passed, their story became a legend of endurance, leadership, and hope. It wasn't a story of discovery or triumph, but a timeless human tale of perseverance and collective spirit. A leader who lived among his men, sharing their hunger, cold, and fear, but giving them something more precious than food: hope. In 1922, Shackleton died on his next expedition south and was buried on South Georgia Island, the very place that had saved his life. On his gravestone is inscribed a single word that encapsulates his entire life: endurance. Shackleton didn't achieve his goal of crossing the continent, but he accomplished something far greater. He saved the lives of everyone with him and proved that true leadership emerges when hope is lost.